So over the weekend, we had a 17-year-old girl shot at one of these after hours nightclubs. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are confused as to why a 17-year-old was there.
Mhm.
Can you kind of explain what these businesses are and how they operate?
Sure. And I'll tell you, that was my first reaction that a 17-year-old child really is out at night in a place like that is really scary. And look, it's really um, like my parents used to say, nothing good happens after midnight, right? But especially for a young person. So what the issue is at this particular establishment is what's called a BYOB, or bring your own beer establishment, and it's not regulated by certain entities. For example, there's a TABC, right? The Texas Alcohol and Beverage Code. That regulates, and they have exclusive jurisdiction over regulating possession, consumption, transportation, location, all that of alcohol. And so that's a state entity. Municipalities can actually cannot have that authority over all those things, possession, consumption, because it's left to the state. Now, there are ways around that. We have what's called a central business district, and we being the city, can regulate the sale of alcohol in certain instances. But citywide, that's not just by law. The state has to take care of that.
Okay, so these organizations are not as closely monitored as a regular
Mhm.
bar because they don't serve alcohol. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and so I know that last year, District 8 Councilman Manny Pelaez filed a council consideration request to have more restrictions on these types of businesses. Could you kind
Mhm.
of tell me where in the process that request is?
Sure. When any council member files a CCR, council consideration request, that goes to governance, and we have a more we in this last year we've made that a much tighter process so that it doesn't take so long. So it did go to governance in April of 2024. So we're coming up on a year, and governance decided to send it to our public safety committee, which I chair. So we heard that this consideration, this request, in September of last year. And because we learned very quickly that that the city doesn't have legal rights over the BYOB establishments, we sent it to our intergovernmental relations committee, meaning let's figure out a way to work with our state to change that law so we can have more control over what's happening within our own city. And so I really appreciate the request from the councilman, and I went through that part of the process. So since public safety sent it over to the intergovernmental relations committee, I don't think it's been scheduled. I will say that Councilman Pelaez chairs that committee, so he sets the agenda. So hopefully this will be something that allows him to put it on the agenda, or at least prioritizes it now.
Okay, and because the city, I guess, doesn't have that legal control over putting more restrictions
Mhm.
on those types of businesses, what would have to happen with the state for, the city of San Antonio to kind of buckle down on these businesses?
So, I mean, first of all, I think what we can do as a city is make sure that we have enough officers, that we have the as much safety around the establishments as we can. But the main thing is going to be working with the state to see how we can either add to the current regulation, or the current law, or change it to see if they can give us that control back over our city. These are not, like you said, they're, by virtue of them not selling alcohol, in a way, it seems like they're getting around the rules, and getting around really making us all safe as a city. But they do have alcohol there. It's just not bought there. It's not, like you mentioned, it's not sold there. So people bringing their own alcohol, that's really kind of the heart of the issue. So going to the state, advocating to the state on how we can get some kind of regulation over places that where you bring your own alcohol, that has to be that's the heart of where we're really going to make change. And I will say, to our community, anybody that feels strongly about this, when we're able to get a bill introduced with the state, if you could call your state rep and let them know how you feel about this issue.
Under your knowledge, is there any legislation going on? Because we know that the Texas legislation is going on right now. Is there anything
Yes.
moving within the legislation for these types of
Yeah.
businesses?
There's not to my knowledge, but I will say that there are hundreds, maybe thousands of bills that get filed all the time. Some of them make it to committee at the ledge. Some of them don't even get that far. So I'm not sure if there are. I don't understand. I don't believe that there are, but there could be maybe filed by even another state rep from a different area of the state. But I don't know that I've seen them come across.
Okay, and so what would be the next step for the city of San
Mhm.
Antonio? Do you guys meet with the legislation up in Austin, or how does that work?
We have a team that the city has a team that goes to the legislature, and they really lobby for what the city needs. They go and they fight for what the things that we need to see as a city, as a municipality. And so that team comes back to the IGR committee, the intergovernmental relations committee, and they come back to the full council and they report back to us. And so we're kind of getting bills that are being advanced or not advanced, ones that are picked up in the House, others that are picked up in the Senate, and the state Senate and the state House, and we get those updates from there. And we also, in the beginning anyway, we did ask to prioritize some of the bills that were already being introduced, and so we get updates on all of those periodically. I would say maybe I think we got the last one maybe about a month ago.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything else that you think people should know or that I haven't asked or touched on?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that these establishments and their businesses and people I want to support small business. Just if you go to a place like that, understand that a BYOB, I hesitate to call it a bar, but an establishment, make sure that you're just being aware of the situation, that there are not right now safeguards as to alcohol purchase and sale there because they're not being sold and purchased there. Of course, always to young people, be just very, very aware of where you are. It really is a tragedy to see this young person, what happened to her, especially because of her age. So, the old thing, if you see something, say something. If you're out and you see a young person in trouble, please let us know. Always, just be aware of your surroundings.